Welcome to Classic Car Cave, or welcome back to Classic Car Cave. Okay, so in the next set of series of videos I'm going to be doing is the rebuilding of the XK 150 OTS, open two-seater. And this has been after 10 months of waiting for the paint job to get finished. I'm pretty happy with the paint job. I think it's worked out quite well. There's a few things which I'll go along over the period of the time that it takes to put it back together, where I explicitly asked the guy not to do certain things or use certain things that we'd already pre-prepped, and then he went ahead and changed things. Yeah, I guess everybody believes they're an expert, but I mean, you know your own car, you spend a lot of time doing things and then people don't listen. Unfortunately, it's going to be some extra work for us, but it's nothing that we can't solve. Anyway, I got the car back just before Christmas. If people are watch regularly, you know I got it, I think, just before Christmas, so that's what, four and a bit weeks ago. Now, I did do a little video, but unfortunately I lost the footage. But I had a bit of a problem when we got it back. Normally, when we're building cars and engines, every 4 to 6 weeks, when the car isn't running, you know, off the ignition or off the starter, we normally turn the engine over a couple of cycles. It's not, you don't need to do it much, just turn the engine over, especially when the engine is brand new, and if you've got new piston rings or new pistons, liners, whatever it might be. When everything's new and it's tight, it really needs some lubrication in it if you can. So throwing it up and down, or just moving up and down the cylinder, is a really good idea. Rings can get jammed and stuck and so on and so forth. Anyway, I brought the car back from Hungary, and we tried to turn over the engine from the front pulley. Now, it's quite a big nut on the pulley, but the actual bolt itself, the thread itself, is not massive, so I didn't want to go too heavy on it. So what I did was, the first thing I did was take out the plugs so there's no compression, because I know the engine's pretty tight. Even though it's been run, it's probably only run for maximum of, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, over 10 or 15 or 20 starts, whatever it is. Anyway, it wouldn't turn over. It was like it was locked. So as I say, I took out the spark plugs, still couldn't turn it. So I thought, the thing that came to mind straight away was perhaps the starter motor is jammed onto the ring gear. Now, obviously I checked that it wasn't in gear, but it wouldn't matter in this case because there's no prop shaft between the gearbox and the diff. Even if it was in gear, it would just be that little bit harder because you'd be turning over the gearbox as well, but it would turn. So I decided then, I said to me, look, what we'll do is once we get it on the ramp, well, we can take the starter motor and have a look. But now things have changed because of the Morris 1000. The ramp is now out of commission till hopefully only Thursday when we get in all the new gear to get it finished up. And then we'll put it onto the ramp and carry on the work. But we're working on it now, you know, on the ground, which is not the best situation. Anyway, the upshot is, the good news is, well, firstly, I'll go back on that. Firstly, we took the starter motor out, still solid. That's when my heart started leaping. I thought, oh God, don't tell me there's a chain or it's slipped a tooth or whatever. Because the engine was running beautifully, and it's really a nice sounding engine, and you'll hear it very soon. Anyway, so we turned it slowly and using the teeth on the ring gear, because obviously you've got much more purchase against the bell housing. It's much easier to get it turned than it is on the crank itself. So we turned it, but what we did was we lubricated. Number 5 cylinder looked like there was a tiny little bit of surface rust, but the endoscope I've got it's quite an old one, and the screen on it's not great, but I could see a little bit of surface rust. So we squirted a little bit of WD-40 in each cylinder, but more into number 5. Because why? I can't understand why, because the plugs have been in it all the time. Okay, it hasn't been turned over for 12, 14 months, approximately, because it was away getting painted. The only thing I can think is maybe during the summer and then the winter there's been condensation possibly, and that condensation is correct, but I wouldn't have thought any air could get in. But if the valve is open, who knows? I mean, end of the day there was some tiny surface rust. Anyway, we put the lubrication in. We turned it, did a complete full turn to make sure nothing was jammed or nothing was going to collide. and did that, and then eventually I put the wrench back on it, and I can turn it easily by hand now, which was, believe me, was a massive relief, because I was really panicking. The last thing I don't want to do is, because this engine is brand spanking new, and the body and the chassis and everything else, and the hours we've put into it. I mean, so far there's about 5 years in this car, which is not actually true. For at least 2 and a bit years of that, I did another XK150, another E-Type, a Mini, 2 Minis, 3 Minis in fact. So yeah, there's probably been about 2.5 years work in it, 3 years. But as I said, the good news is it turns over beautifully, and it's as slick as whatever. So I just wanted to let you know, unfortunately I don't have the footage showing how tight the engine was. So it's something for you if you're doing restorations. Just every now and again, just give it a little tick over, so it doesn't, you know, it's not, and it's good for the bearings, because what happens with the bearings is they're not particularly sitting in oil unless it's being pumped. But what happens is you tend to get streakiness in the bearings as well. So just give it a little turn over every now and again. You only need a couple of cycles, that's all. Once every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to take you on and show you what we're up to with the XK. So if you're not aware of the XK150, I said this is the OTS, but these boot boards are the same in every vehicle. So these are made of aluminium, and it's just a 6-ply. It was Baltic pine, but it really isn't needed for the boot, because there's no chance of water getting into it. So I bought a piece of 6mm ply, because what they want for a Baltic pine piece is a crazy amount. So, but what I do have, so that piece is going to go in there, and we're going to reshape it. What I have got here is the floorboards. Now, if you're not aware of the XK150s, they have wooden floors in them. And this piece here is actually where you jack the car up. So you lift this up. This is on the step. So you'd pull the carpet, this is to the side of the car, to the door. You'd pull the carpet up, you put your jack down through there, and it goes inwards into an outrigger on the car, and that's how you jack it up. So these are all cut to size, and you might see there that there's quite a big chamfer on there, and that's because of where the toe board is. So these are done this way because the gearbox tunnel comes along here, and the other ones are screwed in with captives all the way round. So what I'm going to do, this might be controversial, I actually think it's a reasonable idea. This is Baltic pine and it's supposed to be good, but at the end of the day, you could cover it in body schuts or you know, Raptor, whatever. But what my thinking is now is I bought these aluminium plates. They're not even 1mm, they're 0.8. They're actually absolutely lightweight. So my plan now is to take these and put them on the bottom, so we end up with the aluminium, as you can see there. Obviously that will need to be cut out, and this profile will need to be cut out as well. So what I'll do is we'll actually glue it. There's a special glue called Turbo something or other. I think it's Claver, I think they call it here. This Turbo Fix, and apparently it's very good for flooring with wood and aluminium. So we're going to use that, and then we'll put this aluminium in place, and I think that will look so much nicer. The only thing that I will do with it, as you can see, obviously it's very thin. What I will do with it is where the edges, these three edges here, sorry, this one, and this one, in that chamfer needs to be in it. Obviously this is going to be painted. So what I'll do is I'll bring them inside this line here and bring it right to the edge here, but I'll go inside the line there so that it fits. Because you could imagine, you know, if you thought, oh well, I can just use a piece of aluminium, but can you imagine a piece of 6mm thick aluminium? Apart from the cost, trying to find it, yeah, it would be difficult. So anyway, they're Baltic pine, these boards, and these are the floorboards in the car, and you can see the other one's done as well. We've put that steering rack back in. You can see the donut there. Sorry, the steering rack was on, but that steering extension column, we've put that back in. and you can see it here. So that's back in. Unfortunately, when they painted the inside, for whatever reason, they didn't go over those two bits, and that was because there was a support brace inside it, and it wasn't just those two bits they missed. They also missed those bits down there, you can see, and I think there's one over there as well, unfortunately, and these two, which is where the back of the support was. That one over there is exactly the same. This is where the hood opens up. So yeah, so we have to get those fixed. The next job we're going to go on with is, we've done all the chassis bolts. You see these bolts down here on these plates I'm shining the light on. When we were in a bit of a rush when we took it from the rotisserie jig onto this chassis, which is a new chassis, and we had to use whatever bolts we could grab hold of, so we've gone round now and changed all the bolts for the right ones, either elongated the holes or made them so they're the right, and the same on that side. So the floor's ready to go in. One of the next jobs we're going to do tomorrow is, you can see here on the wing, it's very dusty obviously, but you can see there is no rubber in between it, and there's basically a rubber, what's the best word to use, I can't even think of it now. I'll show you what I mean, and maybe my brain will go into gear and we can see. Okay, so these are, I can't find the actual ones, but I'll show you. These are, yeah, they're basically rubber strips that are pre-painted. Now these obviously are short ones that go in on the front of the car, which go in between. There's two plinths where the bumper rides on them. So these are them. So the long ones we already pre-cut a year or two ago, and they obviously fit inside there and make a really nice edge on it. But we've got to take the rear quarters off, the rear wings off, to put them in. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. And get that. And you might see that looks like it's a dynamo, but in fact it's a dynator. It's a alternator that looks like a dynamo. So they put it in a dynamo body, but it's actually an alternator. So there you go. It's gas shockers as well on it. So there we go. So I was just giving you a quick update, show you where we are, and yeah, hopefully you'll join in, watch in, pass it on to your friends, and yeah, we'll get it going fairly soon, I think. Everything, we already pre-mocked everything up, so we know it all fits, but you know, it's that whole thing, isn't it? You know, you mock everything up and you think it's okay, but you didn't have the body on it. You never know. So on that note, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby, and I'll catch you in the next update. Bye for now.